Real English Lounge.
The art of everyday English.
Welcome back to Real English Lounge, your real place to learn English through honest conversations.
I'm Ethan.
And I'm Claire. And today we're talking about breaking a bad habit. Not which habit, that's your business, but how to actually talk about the process in English.
Everyone's got one. Mine's checking my phone the second I wake up, before I've even opened my eyes properly.
Mine's snacking at 11 at night for absolutely no reason related to hunger.
We're going to give you real vocabulary for talking about triggers, streaks, slip-ups, and actually changing a habit the English people use when they talk about this stuff honestly.
Subscribe on YouTube if this podcast is helping your English.
Comment challenge. Name one habit you're working on breaking. Doesn't have to be dramatic. In English, in the comments.
Level check. B1 to B2. Today's vocabulary shows up constantly in real conversations about self-improvement, health, and just being a person.
Word tour today: trigger, willpower, relapse, craving, accountability, and streak. 6 words for the conversation about breaking a habit. Let's start with trigger, because it's probably the single most useful word in this whole topic.
A trigger is something that sets off the habit, a specific situation, feeling, or cue that makes you do the thing almost automatically.
For me, it's boredom. The second I'm bored for more than 30 seconds, my hand is already reaching for my phone.
For me, it's actually stress, not hunger. I don't snack because I'm hungry. I snack because I'm avoiding something.
Which is honestly the useful discovery in almost every habit. The trigger usually isn't what you think it is.
Right. I'm just hungry is a story you tell yourself. I'm stressed and snacking is easier than dealing with it is the actual trigger.
Once you can name the trigger, you can say things like, I noticed my trigger is usually boredom, not the phone itself.
Which is a much more useful sentence than I need to use my phone less, because it points at the actual cause.
Let's talk about willpower, because it gets used constantly, and usually incorrectly.
Willpower is your mental strength to resist temptation or stick to a decision. The common mistake is treating it like an unlimited resource.
Right. I just need more willpower assumes willpower doesn't run out. It absolutely does, especially by the end of a long day.
Which is why most bad habits happen at night. Willpower is basically depleted by then, and the trigger wins.
So the better English isn't I need more willpower. It's I need less reliance on willpower, meaning you design your environment so you don't need to resist as hard.
For example, I stopped keeping snacks in the house, so I'm not relying on willpower at 11 at night.
That's a genuinely more advanced way to talk about habit change, focusing on the setup, not just the resistance.
Let's talk about slipping up versus relapsing, because English actually distinguishes between these, and the distinction matters emotionally.
A slip-up is a single mistake. One bad night, one skipped plan, one instance of the habit coming back briefly.
A relapse is more serious, going back to the old pattern fully, not just once, but as a genuine return to the habit.
I had a slip-up on Tuesday sounds recoverable. I relapsed sounds like starting over completely.
Which is why the language matters.
Calling a single bad night a relapse makes it feel bigger than it actually is.
I slipped up, but I'm back on track is honest and forgiving. I relapsed can spiral into I've failed completely, even when that's not true.
So the word you choose after a bad night can actually affect whether you keep going or give up entirely.
Exactly. Language isn't just describing the habit, it's shaping how you respond to setbacks.
Let's talk about craving, because it's more specific than wanting.
A craving is a strong, often sudden urge for something specific, sharper and more physical than a general want.
I want a snack is mild.
I'm craving something salty is much more specific and intense.
Cravings usually pass within a few minutes if you don't act on them, which is a genuinely useful fact, not just vocabulary.
I had a craving, but I waited it out is a complete little success story in one sentence.
Let's talk about accountability, because habits rarely change in isolation. They usually change because someone else is involved.
Accountability means being answerable to someone for your actions, having someone who knows what you're trying to do and checks in.
I told my roommate I'm trying to cut back on late-night snacking, so now I have some accountability.
Which works because you're not just breaking a promise to yourself, you're also not showing up for someone else.
There's actually a specific phrase for this, an accountability partner, someone you check in with regularly about a goal.
We're accountability partners for this is a very natural way to describe that arrangement in English.
Let's talk about streaks, because they're both motivating and, honestly, a little dangerous.
A streak is a continuous run of days doing or not doing something.
I'm on a 10-day streak means 10 days without the habit.
Streaks feel great, right up until you break one, and then a lot of people feel like the whole thing is ruined.
I broke my streak can feel like total failure.
Even if the actual behavior was one small slip-up.
Which loops back to the slip-up versus relapse point. A broken streak is not the same as starting from zero.
My streak ended, but I'm not starting over.
I'm continuing is honestly a healthier way to talk about it.
Let's talk about the setup side of this for a second, because most advice focuses only on resisting, not on designing your surroundings.
Right, there's a whole category of English around this.
Out of sight, out of mind is the classic one.
I moved my phone charger out of the bedroom, so it's literally out of sight, out of mind at night.
That's a setup change, not a willpower change.
You're removing the trigger instead of resisting it.
There's also friction, making a habit slightly harder to do on purpose, so the automatic version of you hesitates.
I added a little friction by logging out of the app every night.
Small, deliberate, and surprisingly effective.
There's also a really common phrase for stopping something completely and suddenly: cold turkey.
I quit cold turkey means you stopped immediately.
With no gradual reduction at all. No easing into it.
Which works for some habits and completely backfires for others. It really depends on what you're trying to change.
The alternative is cutting back gradually.
Reducing slowly over time instead of stopping all at once.
I'm cutting back gradually sounds less dramatic than cold turkey, but it's often the more realistic plan for a lot of people.
Neither one is automatically better English or automatically the better strategy.
They're just two different approaches with two different names.
There's one more setup trick worth naming: habit stacking. Attaching a new habit onto an existing routine you already do automatically.
I stack it onto my morning coffee.
Right after I pour it, I do the new thing, is a complete description of the technique.
You're borrowing the automatic nature of an old habit to help build a new one, instead of relying on memory alone.
Let's talk about identity language too.
Because it quietly changes how sustainable a habit change actually feels.
There's a real difference between "I'm trying to stop snacking" and "I'm someone who doesn't snack at night anymore."
The first one describes an ongoing struggle.
The second one describes a fact about who you already are.
"I'm not a smoker," said by someone who quit, sounds completely different from "I'm trying to quit smoking," even describing the exact same person.
Identity language isn't just a trick.
It actually reduces the number of small decisions you have to keep making every single day.
Let's do a real round now, describing an actual habit change start to finish using today's vocabulary.
Okay, my trigger is boredom, not my phone.
When I notice the craving to check it, I try to wait it out instead of relying purely on willpower.
I told a friend I'm working on it, so I've got some accountability. I had one slip up last week, but I didn't treat it as a relapse. I just kept going.
That's a genuinely fluent, natural description of breaking a habit.
And it uses almost every word from today's list.
Which is honestly the goal. Not perfect grammar, just being able to talk about something real, clearly.
Time for the word tour.
6 words from today's conversation. Let's start with the word for whatever sets a habit off.
Trigger.
A trigger is a specific situation, feeling, or cue that sets off a habit almost automatically.
Identifying your trigger is usually the first real step in changing anything.
You can say, "My trigger for snacking is actually stress, not hunger." Or once you name the trigger, the habit gets a lot easier to interrupt.
A trigger is like a domino falling.
One small push, and the whole familiar sequence starts running on its own.
Let's repeat it. Trigger.
Trigger.
Our next word describes your mental strength to resist temptation.
Willpower.
Willpower means the mental strength to resist temptation or stick to a decision, even when it's difficult. It's real, but it's also limited. It runs out.
You can say, my willpower is strongest in the morning
and basically gone by 10 at night. Or relying only on willpower usually isn't a sustainable long-term plan.
Willpower is like a phone battery, strong at the start of the day and often nearly dead by the time you actually need it most.
Let's repeat it. Willpower.
Willpower.
This next word describes going fully back to an old habit.
Relapse.
A relapse means returning fully to an old habit or pattern.
Not just one small mistake, but a genuine return to it. It's a heavier word than slip up.
You can say, after months of progress, he relapsed during a particularly stressful month. Or one bad night doesn't have to turn into a full relapse.
A relapse is like a dam finally breaking. Rather than one small leak, the whole old pattern rushes back in at once.
Let's repeat it. Relapse.
Relapse.
Our next word describes a strong, sudden urge for something specific.
Craving.
A craving is a strong, sudden urge for something specific, more intense and physical than a general want. Cravings are usually short-lived if you don't act on them.
You can say, I had a craving for something salty around 9, but it passed within a few minutes. Or, learning to sit through a craving is its own small skill.
A craving is like a wave. It rises fast, feels intense, and then, if you just wait, it naturally rolls back out.
Let's repeat it. Craving.
Craving.
This next word describes being answerable to someone for your actions.
Accountability.
Accountability means being responsible to someone else for your actions or progress, not just to yourself. Having accountability usually makes follow-through much more likely.
You can say, we're accountability partners, so we check in with each other every Sunday. Or, telling someone your goal out loud adds a little healthy accountability.
Accountability is like having a training partner at the gym. You show up partly because someone else is expecting you to.
Let's repeat it. Accountability.
Accountability.
Our last word describes a continuous run of days, doing or not doing something.
Streak.
A streak is a continuous, unbroken run of days doing or avoiding something. Streaks are motivating, but breaking one doesn't erase the progress underneath it.
You can say, I'm on a 3-week streak without the habit, and it feels genuinely different now. Or, don't let breaking a streak turn into an excuse to fully give up.
A streak is like a row of dominoes standing upright, impressive while it's unbroken. But one falling domino doesn't undo the one still standing behind it.
Let's repeat it. Streak.
Streak.
That's the word tour. Trigger, willpower, relapse, craving, accountability, streak.
6 words for the conversation about actually breaking a habit, not just wanting to. Let's close this one out. Whatever habit you're working on,
Name your trigger, don't rely purely on willpower, and treat a slip-up as a slip-up, not a full relapse.
and if you can, find an accountability partner. It genuinely changes the odds.
So tell us in the comments, what's your trigger, really, once you actually look at it honestly?
Subscribe, give it a like, share it with your accountability partner, if you've got one.
And if you don't, maybe this is the sign to find one.
This is Ethan.
And this is Claire.
And you've been listening to Real English Lounge.
One slip-up isn't the end of anything. See you next time.
Your English journey doesn't end here.
Keep listening, keep learning, and keep speaking.
Choose your next conversation.
We'll see you in the next episode of Real English Lounge.